everyone. Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to First Things First.
I'm doing some stuff. I'm working with the staff and everything. I'm ready.
It's hard. It's hard with the tutoring and making sure we're all set. It's hard that you take that on yourself.
Yeah, I had to talk to your wife this morning, talk to a couple camera guys and everything. We got the squad together.
Talk to his wife and make it complete. A lot on the show this morning. Jenna Wolfe, Cris Carter, Nick Wright. El Bell's days with the Steelers are probably over. Doug Peterson, he's pointing the finger at himself.
Spicy.
But let's kick off this show.
I'm bringing it. With
LeBron James and what has been a rather strange and challenging start to his Laker career. Yes, the Lakers are 7-6, but they started 0-3, and they've certainly had their shares of ups and downs. And the downs have taken a toll on LeBron, who had this to say after beating the Kings on Saturday. I haven't changed anything outwardly, but you know me, you know how I am. I almost cracked last week. I had to sit back and remind myself, you knew what you were getting yourself into. This process has been good for me. I just have to continue being patient. Nick, you've watched every second of every single Laker game this season. What do you think of what LeBron had to say about the season so far?
I think people need to understand what I interpret, and I think what you should interpret, crack to mean in that context. I don't think LeBron was saying, I almost cracked as far as under the pressure, I almost cracked as far as doubted my decision. I think he means cracked as far as I almost went to what I know to do best, what I know how to do, and the way I've always operated. Yes. Right? Like I had a plan in place. We're going to execute this Luke Walton offense. We're going to play at this pace. I am not going to all of a sudden have an off-the-charts usage rate in the fourth quarter of games to take things home. I am going to let the young guys have the experiences, learn, and see what they can do.
Because along the way now, we also have to realize LeBron just didn't just get here. You have to take a roadmap and see where he's been the last 8 years. So his first move from Cleveland to Miami, he gets criticized for that. He changes his whole personality. He's a villain. Then he's like, I'm not that guy. Then he becomes the champion that he never was, all the things people said. And then he goes back to Cleveland, wins another one in the finals with no chance the last couple years to win. And then deciding I'm going to leave Cleveland again before we even get to Los Angeles. So I think that how he gets here and along the way in those 8 years of going to the finals, Jenna, he's intervened. He has put his hand in, well, maybe he shouldn't have, or he's said something before he let things play out. So I think Nick's been sitting back like, I wonder when LeBron's going to do this, because he's done it before.
He's done it before, and one of the reasons that I, on social media more than on the show, have been following the Cavs very closely at 1-11 and the worst team in basketball is I know the people around LeBron have been doing something similar, and I think that leads to this as well. And by that I mean, I think that is further confirmation for LeBron when things aren't going well with the Lakers early. Man, I can fix all of this. That team won 50 games, went to the finals. Now, you can say they wouldn't have made the finals in the West, fine. But they would have been one of the better teams, and that team is terrible. So all it takes is for me to change what I believe, me being LeBron, what I believe is the best long-term approach for the short term. And that's hard.
Right.
It's hard to say, I'm going to stick with the plan. It's particularly hard when you're 2-5 and you have lost 3 games that you know you could have won.
Yes.
That you know in the past you would have won. And so that's what I think he meant. He meant, man, I almost went away from what the plan is. And by the way, the almost crack, this can happen again and again. I don't look at this commentary, this interview as, well, now all is solved, because they damn near gave the game away against Atlanta Sunday night. And so for similar reasons. So this will be a struggle throughout the year.
You guys both have mentioned LeBron James is clearly the smartest player in basketball right now. Could you read into a little bit more some of his comments? Was it perhaps a message to his team? I mean, he suddenly decided this was when he wanted to be honest and really let people in to see what was going on. Do you think there was something to that there was a little more than just what he said?
I think people like LeBron, and I know this through spending a lot of time with Michael Jordan, traveling around the country, going to games, spending some off-season time together, playing some golf. It's tough being them. just on a daily basis. Forget about whatever their family life is, trying to move his family and everything. Like, who they are and what they have to do every day is a lot of pressure. Now, it's everything that they wanted in their life. It's everything they've invited in their life, but it's still very, very difficult. So with LeBron, I understand, and especially with him having Magic Johnson over the organization, because he had that in Miami, and Pat Riley really helped him. So how much he's going to intervene, how much he's going to let the organization, how much he's going to let things play out. Like, these are complicated things. Like, a lot of people say, well, those are good problems to have. LeBron not trying to intervene on a daily basis because he knows so much about basketball, and he knows how to get a team to a certain point. How not to put his own hand in there every single day, to me, would have to be one of the hardest things he's ever done.
But do you think that sends a message to his teammates? The guys who are like, hey, we appreciate that. We know you can come in and save us at any given night, but let us figure out how to do it.
I think theoretically it does, but ultimately it's going to come down to how good are these guys. And that's the other point of frustration, I would imagine. This is just speculation from me. Man, they had some opportunities to add some prominent star players, most notably Kawhi Leonard, this summer. And they didn't want to do it because they did not want to get rid of Lonzo, but most notably, they didn't want to get rid of Brandon Ingram. And Brandon Ingram does not look any better in year 3 than he did in year 2. Lonzo, we haven't yet seen the jump from year 1 to year 2. I would think that adds to the frustration. You mentioned, Jenna, that LeBron let us in. LeBron has given a few quotes this year already that are more honest than your typical athlete quote. You don't want to be around me when I'm angry. Not when I'm angry. That's Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
When I lose my patience.
Mm-hmm. But we have seen some of the fits and starts of LeBron's kind of satisfaction level with the team. But the other thing that is so different than when he went back to Cleveland and when he went to Miami is those were veteran teams. Those weren't kids.
Yes.
So, like, even though they weren't, Wade had a championship, but Bosh didn't, the other Heat players didn't except for UD, and no one on the Cavs had a championship. The average age of that Cavs team when he went back was 28 and a half. The average age of that Heat team was 31.
And most of the guys they brought in were veteran guys.
Wait, and this team?
25. Youngest team he's been on since his rookie year.
Wow.
He hadn't been on a team where the average age was under 28 since his first start with Cleveland before he went to Miami at all. It's one of the reasons, in addition to rim protection and backup center, that he wanted Tyson Chandler. That he called in a favor to James Jones, the GM of the Suns, and said, hey, man, champ, you want a few rings with me? The NBA record holder post-Celtics of most consecutive finals is me and then you, because you were my buddy. You're going to buy out Tyson Chandler in a few months.
Yeah, we need that.
I need you to do that right now. Yeah. And that's why Tyson Chandler.
And it's worked out so far.
It's worked out, but I also think, and the celebration there, like, yes, that was a big win and it would have been a terrible loss, but having someone in a similar life space as LeBron,
yes.
I'm going to bring it to this show just for a moment, it was very important to see that when they paired us up, that the third person was not my age or younger. It was, and I'm not trying to date you at all, but it was very important that
I'm fat?
It was very important to see that the person have a bridge between the gulf in our age and generations.
Sure.
And so, like, because you can find some similarities, you can find some commonalities. So I think that's across all workplaces.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we got a lot to go here. And when do the Lakers play next, Nick?
Lakers play a 10:30 start tomorrow night against the Blazers. Third game of the year against the Blazers.
Which we'll be watching. Coming up, is L. Bell's time in Pittsburgh finally over? We're coming to an end here. That's next on First Things First.
Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission-free. They strive to make financial services work for everyone, not just the wealthy. Robinhood is a non-intimidating way for stock market newcomers to invest for the first time with true confidence. Robinhood is simple and intuitive with a clear design that shows data presented in an easy-to-digest way. Here's why I recommend Robinhood. No commission fees. Other brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, but Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees. Trade stocks and keep all of your profits. It's simple. easy to understand charts and market data. Place a trade in just 4 taps on your smartphone. Robinhood web platform also lets you view stock collections. Collections are like sectors like entertainment, social media, curated categories like female CEOs, and analyst ratings of buy, hold, sell for every stock. You learn by doing it. Learn how to invest as you build your portfolio. Discover new stocks and track favorite companies with personalized news feeds, custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. Robinhood is giving our listeners a free stock, such as Apple, Ford, or Sprint, to help build your portfolio. Sign up at first.robinhood.com. That's first.robinhood.com.
Tonight, Wisconsin faces Xavier at 6:30 Eastern. Then tomorrow, reigning champs Villanova facing the Michigan Wolverines in a rematch of last year's national championship game at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's the Gavitt tip-off game sponsored by Jeep, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. It's going to be a great matchup, guys.
Ethan Happ, a preseason All-American for Wisconsin. And if you're a basketball fan tonight, is a perfect night for us to have this game because in the NBA, the only game that starts till 9 is the Hornets, and the Cavs. Don't nobody need to watch that game. So go ahead, come over to FS1, check out Wisconsin Xavier.
The way you speak that entertains me so much.
I appreciate that. There's Khalil Iverson overseas shoulder. Wisconsin's got a good team this year. Xavier's losing a couple starters from last year. Should be a really good game. And then tomorrow, a great game on FS1, Michigan Nova. Excited for it.
All right, moving on. We'll get to Lev Bell in a second, but first, Monday Night Football. Eli Manning, watch this. Nice pass and nicer catch from Sterling Shepard, and the Giants win over the Niners last night.
Nice catch. Good little outright, good throw by Eli. Got a little body part down on this one. I was a little concerned when he went airborne.
Me too, because he only got the 1 foot.
You see that, Jenna? You see that right butt cheek? Butt cheek is like 2 feet.
That's exactly what I was looking at.
Man, it's got to be tight, though. You got to be doing your
And I think the elbow counts, right?
No. See, Brian, he wouldn't have worked it because Brian's all upper body. He's got no glutes.
Oh.
To the NBA now, Bulls have Zach LaVine with the steal and destroys the rim with that dunk.
Look at that windmill.
Nick, how good is he playing this season?
Man, better than I thought he had the ability to.
All-star?
Oh,
absolutely.
Right now? Absolutely an all-star right now. I mean, he's averaging 27 a game, top 5 in the NBA in scoring.
He's made a full recovery from that knee injury.
And he's turned himself into not just a leaper.
Same game here. Luka Doncic
come on, Luka, don't
confuses
do that.
Justin Holiday.
Oh, does he hit it?
Deep. Yep.
Oh, Luka.
Very impressive.
Be still my heart.
Very, very impressive. He could have gone to the hole the first time on this one.
Pulls up from deep. Just giving you 26 and 4 as a 19-year-old rookie. This guy.
Hadn't he been playing professionally since he was 13?
Yeah.
Finally, Sixers Heat. Tyler Johnson, watch this. Lobs it to Derek Jones Jr. for the dunk.
Oh, I mean, the Heat got some dunkers now. They got Bam. Whiteside will throw some down. I didn't know who this
Dude stays in the highlights.
Absolutely. This is
Stretch Armstrong right here.
The Heat went on a 15-0 run in the second quarter of this game that you thought was going to maybe give them the distance for the game.
I mean, he goes from the dotted line at the free throw line, not the restricted area.
Correct. The semicircle beneath the free throw line.
Yes.
They got some leapers in Miami. Also got some bad contracts. Dope jerseys, though.
And that makes it all okay. Moving on to Le'Veon Bell. Now, a lot of conjecture that this will probably end with Bell not playing a snap of football this season. According to multiple reports, Bell is unlikely to report to the Steelers by today's 4 p.m. deadline. That would make him ineligible to play for the rest of the way. All right, let's break it down. Cece, what do you make of how Bell has handled this entire situation?
Well, this is an unusual situation. It's one of the most unusual situations I've ever seen in the NFL in my 30 years of being associated with it. And you just can't put this in one category. So I'm going to try to separate this into 2 things. Because as a professional football player, you do realize that I'm an independent contractor. I'm in this for myself and for my family. And at the end of the day, a lot of players, we've said this. When you leave the NFL, you got 2 things you're going to take with you. Number 1 is money, and the other is memories. Those are the only things you're going to be able to take with you. So try to get as much of both of those as possible. So I can't begrudge a man for trying to maximize his moment in the light. I tried to do the same thing, just a different way. Now, he's been forced, based on the way the Pittsburgh Steelers have decided that they're only going to reward him a certain amount for his overall durability, the way he's played, his all-purpose yards. Like, they're only going to honor him. They're not going to pay him like the other NFL contracts. So when we got into this franchise thing, the NFL owners' collective bargaining agreement, it was not meant to be where we are right now as far as this. It was meant so that you could secure your top players, and they would get the average of the top 5 players. And
so everybody wins. It's supposed to be win-win.
So we wouldn't be like the other franchise where you couldn't protect 1 or 2 guys. We would always have that, and that's something that's helped football be one of the most popular sports.
And the reason it was put in the way it was it wasn't really 4 guys that were at the top 5 of their position. The reason they was okay with it being the average top 5 guys, it's a guy we want to keep, but we either can't agree to terms on. He's had an injury history, like what might happen with Clowney and the Texans this offseason. He's showed flashes of greatness, but so where the player, yeah, I'd like a long-term deal, but I'm getting overpaid for a year. For Le'Veon and guys in his situation,
the assumption is they would have been signed to a long-term deal.
It's not only do I not have a long-term deal, but I'm being underpaid because I'm not the average of the top 5. I'm the best or the second best. Here's what I find most fascinating about where we're at now if he doesn't show up today. If he doesn't show up today, it is hard to argue he played this wrong because he made a decision that I am going to choose conservation over immediate compensation, and I thought the worst decision he could make would have been playing half the year. So I'm giving up $7, $8, $9, maybe $10 million, and you still can get hurt. There's no rule.
I think there's a greater probability of you getting hurt with missing half the season, missing training camp and the OTAs than there are if you had gone
and played the whole
been there the whole time. So that part right there, I do agree with you
Nick,
on that.
And Nick, you should just tell the audience how much money would he have made this year?
$14.4 million is what he would have made with $0 guaranteed past this season. And so once he decided to miss games, as long as he knew, and I don't know if he knew or he's just now finding out, that the Steelers cannot essentially franchise tag him a third time.
I don't think they knew this because the way they communicated, him and his agent, especially to the players, and what they had released from a media standpoint, it was that they didn't know what all the options were.
So there's in the I don't want to get in the weeds too far. I just want people to understand. It's unclear in the CBA. If you get franchise tagged a second time and you never sign it, if they franchise tag you again, is that the third time or is that still the second time?
Okay.
The NFL released this past week, it's the third time. And the third time is the quarterback number, which would mean it's $25 million. 0% chance any team is paying Le'Veon Bell $25 million for 1 year. So once that became clear, he's totally de-incentivized to show up at all.
Right.
He now knows he's going to hit free agency fully healthy, and he knows, he's not going to have a year of 25 touches per game, which is what he's averaged most NFL history in his career with the Steelers.
The reason why I don't agree with you on the finances, because say, for instance, he does sign with another team. Say he just, for practical matter, he gets $45 million. Say he gets 30 of that guaranteed. If I put the other $15 million on top of that, I got $60 million. So we don't know what's going to happen long term, but for me, I could understand because the money part, as an independent contractor, you have to try to maximize that. With the franchise tag, it became very, very hard for him. But the problem is you're playing a team sport. You're not an individual. So his career, what we say in the locker room is once you sign your contract, everyone's signed up to try to win the Super Bowl. Now, everyone's trying to play as good as they can, but the game, the reason why we're playing the game is so that we might win the Super Bowl. L. Bell has been in that locker room, and he has signed up to say, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. And now he's got to tell his teammates, you know something? That's not the most important thing to me. Right now, the most important thing to me is for me to preserve my body, all right, so that I can hit free agency and try to maximize on those guaranteed dollars. So I can understand why his teammates in the past, who we're all signing up for this. And then now, in the middle of the story, now L. Bell has changed his course without telling them.
What about his teammates in the future? How does that affect wherever he signs? I think most people think it'll be the Colts or the Jets, wherever it is. How does it affect how people view him moving forward? If he does suffer an injury, if he is questionable for a game?
I just think that it's impossible to forget all this information when every week we have a scouting report. Man, who's doubtful? Who's questionable? Who's probable? Who's practicing? Who's pushing through? Like, who's not worried? When you have guaranteed contract, there is no need for you to be concerned. You can play with injuries and everything because you got long-term commitment from the team. L. Bell, will he always be thinking about himself? Will he always be trying to preserve his body the rest of the way? Because he'll have a year of saying, you know something, the most important thing is my body. And typically, when we sign up and say we're getting ready to try to win this championship, we disregard our body for long term to try to win right now. So if he sits out, if he misses any other time, it would be easy for people to question his overall commitment to that team based on what's happened in Pittsburgh this year.
Do you think other teams will be hesitant to sign him in any way? I know the easy answer is like, no, he's Lev Bell, he's amazing. Do you think another team will be hesitant to bring him in after the year they just won?
I don't think that he attracted more teams. I think that there was going to be a certain number of teams that had a great deal of interest in L. Bell because his skill as a football player. The New York Football Jets would take him right now. They could use him.
Regardless of how he handled and played this situation.
It's business.
Yeah.
It's business. The Jets understand the franchise tag. They understand. Now, teams understand the business. What do they get in the locker room? So now I just believe they have to do a lot of intel. You got to do a lot of background into knowing the person more so than the situation. I don't believe he's more attractive because he sat out a year. He thinks he is. His agent thinks he is. And that's yet to be seen.
And how this affects running backs that aren't Le'Veon Bell, we should mention. I do not think this was his prerogative. I don't think this was on his list of priorities. But sometimes there are unintended consequences. Le'Veon Bell now, with the NFL making it clear that if you get franchise tagged a second time, the next time, and you sit out the year, the next time it's a third franchise tag. And Le'Veon Bell, after David Johnson got money, Todd Gurley got money, we think Zeke's going to get money, we know he's going to get money. All of a sudden, the running back, which is the one position that has been kind of the most screwed over by the rookie wage scale, because guys' careers are so much shorter, by the franchise tag, because, we can squeeze one extra year out of you.
Also how they've used the running back. They've platooned the running back, so you didn't need to spend all those resources on a top-flight running back.
Absolutely right. And the success of guys like Kareem Hunt that weren't first-round picks, the success of guys that we've seen, all of a sudden it changes it a little bit. This has been really good for running backs not named Le'Veon Bell.
But to think that he was doing this for a running back is a bunch of BS.
Correct. Like I said, unintended consequence. Yeah. I don't think he was out there trying to be a freedom fighter.
Oh, no, I jumped on the grenade. What the heck was that? That was an accident.
I think that's probably accurate.
All right, we'll talk more about this coming up. On the other side, though, let's talk some Eagles. Should their head coach, Doug Peterson, blame himself for the Eagles' struggles? Next on First Things First. Hiring used to be hard. Multiple job sites, stacks of resumes, a confusing review process. But today, hiring can be easy, and you only have to go to one place to get it done, ZipRecruiter.com/FTF. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But they don't stop there. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 80% of employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. With results like that, it's no wonder ZipRecruiter is the highest-rated hiring site in America. And right now, listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/FTF. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FTF. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Awesome. Bad news for the LA Rams. Sean McVay will be doing some roster maneuvering this week. That's because receiver Cooper Kupp is out for the year with a torn ACL. Kupp was having a great year, caught 40 passes for over 560 yards, 6 touchdowns on the air. All right, redeem yourself. See, how big of a deal is this for LA to now be out without Cooper Kupp?
Oh, it's a big deal, but this is why Sean McVay. Hey, young fella. Hey, 32-year-old genius. Let's come up with some stuff. Let's put some other people. Let me see what you got. Let me see the other personnel. Let me see what formations you're going to use. The biggest problem is they are predominantly a 31 team, 3 receivers and 1 running back. Now let's see What do they do moving forward? This is up to Sean McVay. The reason why they call him those things, I think he'll earn that reputation in it. They'll come up with some creative stuff.
And when Cooper Kupp missed Week 8, his replacement Josh Reynolds, I think, had 2 touchdown catches. This is going to be real bad for somebody, either the Rams or Cooper Kupp, because Cooper Kupp has been a great story his first year and a half in the NFL. If they all of a sudden, whomever they put in there, if slot receiver for the Rams is a spot that always is open, that Sean McVay schemes you open.
It's like Wes Welker, then Edelman. Is it just the position or is it the play caller and everything?
And so, like, I like Cooper Kupp as a player. I liked him as a college player. And so I think this is a loss for them. If it's not a loss for them, it's a huge loss for Cooper Kupp and what people in NFL circles think of him.
One thing I know, Cooper Kupp's overall speed is underrated. Sometimes we get in these stereotypes. Oh, he's white.
Oh,
he's undersized. He's in the slot. He don't really have downfield speed. Oh, no. Adam Thielen can burn, and Kupp can run it. He can get it.
That's it for Cooper Kupp. Finally, moving on to the Chargers. They are 7-2 behind some great play out of Phillip Rivers this season. The Chargers are quietly making a Super Bowl run. Rivers thrown for 21 touchdowns, 4 picks with a career-high 115 passer rating. Rivers says he's playing the most consistent football of his career. See, how impressive has Phillip Rivers been this year? Because we're not talking about him very much.
That's been the story of his career, Jenna. Since he's come into the league, he's always been overshadowed either by playing with the Chargers or by the quarterbacks that he came into the league with, who have gone on to win Super Bowls and everything. But since he's been in the league, he's been one of the best throwers of the football. Unusual throwing motion, very, very ugly. You can't even teach what he does. But it's like a jump shot. It can be ugly. It's like a golf swing. It can be ugly.
If it works.
But can it be effective? And he's one of the most effective passers, getting the ball out of his hands, and people just don't know the type of talent that they do have there. Man, they got good wide receivers. They brought Antonio Gates back after getting an injury to their tight end. And Melvin Gordon, man, he's one of the special running backs in this league that we don't talk about. Coming out of the backfield, catching the ball and running the ball between the tackles. And the thing that I think was very, very surprising is Melvin Gordon's all breakaway speed. So, yes, Phillip Rivers is taking advantage of that. I've always had a great deal of respect for his game and thought he was worthy of more credit than he ever got.
Last night on Monday Night Football, they did the Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer debate. And here's what I know. If Eli gets in, this guy got to get in. The numbers are not even close. Like, Phillip Rivers, throughout his career, has been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in football. And this year is breaking all of his own standards. Like, show Phillip Rivers' average year, which is a Pro Bowl caliber year, compared to what he's doing this year. Completion percentage up 3 points. Yards per pass up more than a full yard. His average year, 28 touchdowns, 14 picks. This year on pace for 37-7. And the passer rating jumped 20 points from his career average. 20 points. Even in the inflated 2018 NFL passing stats, Phillip Rivers is having the type of year that if Pat Mahomes wasn't in his own division, Phillip Rivers would be the guy being discussed out of the AFC as an MVP candidate. He's been awesome. And the Chargers now, they got 2 losses early to the Rams and the Chiefs. They probably at some point have Joey Bosa coming back. This is a dangerous, really good football team that if, for the first time in a half-decade, they get their kicking situation settled, nobody's going to want to face them. And I'll add one other thing. They're the only team other than the Chiefs in the AFC that controls their path to the 1 seed. If the Chargers win out, they're the 1 seed. Like, they would win the tiebreaker with Kansas City if they win out. So, Chargers are a dangerous team. Phillip Rivers, the biggest reason.
And Phillip Rivers, he's been on some special offenses. I mean, he's played with some good offensive talent. Typically, we don't talk about it as much, but this year, because they have so much balance, Melvin Gordon coming there, he's facing the least amount of pressure that he's faced at any year in his career. So those numbers, those 20 points are playing out because they're putting less pressure on him because they fear what he can do to the defense.
All right, let's move on to the Eagles. The team that cruised to a Super Bowl win last season has followed that up with a bit of a head-scratcher this season. 4-5 on the year, coming off a disappointing loss to the Cowboys. They now head to New Orleans to try and salvage a playoff run against arguably the best team in the league. We'll call that one a challenge. Doug Peterson addressed all of that to his team yesterday.
They're disappointed. They're disappointed in the way they play. They're disappointed in the outcome of the game. And they know that, we talk about having no regrets. No regrets during the week and no regrets on Sundays. And right now we got to continue to work on that.
It's the first time, though, that you guys have said that messaging of having to look in the mirror, that you've had those moments where you haven't been able to fight through. So do you have to change your messaging at this point to come out on the other side?
Well, I think that's something I'd have to consider, quite frankly, because I don't know any other way to do it but to look internally. Am I giving enough as a head football coach? Am I giving enough to the team? Am I giving up? Am I sacrificing enough in my game planning and my study during the week? So I got to look at myself, and that's what I ask the players to do. Is they got to look and see, are they getting extra conditioning? Are they getting extra film study during the week? Are they getting rest at night? That all those things are part of wins and losses, and so that's something that'll never change.
Doug Peterson questioning how much he's giving to his team. Not sure that's something the team wants to hear. CC, how much of the Eagles' struggles can be pinned on Doug Peterson?
Doug needs to stop talking. They need to stop all the press conferences because Doug don't know what the heck he's talking about. All right?
He's grasping, man.
Why don't we do this? After a second year as a head coach, right, in Philadelphia, they won the Super Bowl, right? You know what I'm going to do first, Jenna? I'm getting ready to write a book. I ain't never been no head coach, but why are you writing a book? Well, what do you know? In your 2 years, the jury was out on you. Now, this was a magic playoff run that they went on. And now in doing that, so you write a book. That's how you're going to start. You know something, guys? I got this thing figured out. Life, football, I got it figured out. I'm getting ready to write a book. All right, you started off wrong. Oh, we have more fun than they have in New England. I would have stopped that messaging point because you don't know what they do in New England. You've never been in New England. And it wasn't the right type of focus to have in the offseason. So, yes, Doug Peterson, he's grasping at straws. Yeah. There is no way that I weekly try to face a press conference and try to explain to people. Stop talking. Stop trying to tell people what you think they might want to hear. Stop answering those. Bill Belichick, the reason why his press conferences are that way, because it's not his responsibility to reveal everything to the media because it's not going to help the team get better. So the more he stays up there, the more he answers questions, the more he's like, well, you know something? I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. I have never thought about that. Maybe I should start looking at myself. Well, you're not ready for the press conference. Doug Peterson, regardless of what we say, he's won a Super Bowl, but he is still learning how to be a head coach. And every week I hear a soundbite that lets me know that this is not a team, that they're not going on leadership. He don't have the heartbeat of this team right now. This is an average football team that's very, very talented. They are not playing up to their talent level. And the reason why, their head coach should take responsibility for that because we got teams out there not as talented, playing a lot better than the Eagles are playing. So Doug should look at himself. He shouldn't go into a press conference and not have an answer to those questions, or he should just remove all those things and stop trying to explain, especially to the local media, what they're not supposed to understand it.
To me, good leadership, if I have to distill it down into one sentence, I would define good leadership as consistency of message and a clear objective. Now, everything else is a bonus. Do you inspire me? Am I a little afraid of you maybe instead of inspired? Like, you can put something on it. You can approach it from a different direction. But what I would want, what I felt professionally the first time I got any time in my career was once I got to this network was I knew exactly what the objective was, and I got a consistent message every day how to achieve that objective. How many different messages have we just heard from Doug Peterson? And he's only talking to us through the media, 15 to 20 minutes 3 times a week. How often are you talking to them players? Maybe more importantly, how often is he talking to his other coaches? What message is he giving them? You can't achieve an objective if you don't know what it is and what your leader believes the path is. The reason the NFL very often gets compared, I think sometimes unfortunately, to the military, but one similarity they have is a clear chain of command, where what he says is what goes without a whole lot of questioning of it, and we're all going to go in that direction. I don't know that the Eagles have that part figured out. What I do know is they were coming off a bye, which is the one time during the season you can have the most impact as a head coach. Your bye week. Andy Reid off a bye, historically great. Belichick off a bye, like the best coaches are great off a bye. And they got embarrassed. I know it looks to me like they missed some of his lieutenants, Frank Reich, John DeFilippo. They look like they missed some of the other brains in that room up to this point in the season. I know that.
What if you're the players? Take me through this from the players' perspective, and you hear your head coach come in. You're probably savvy enough to know whether he knows and he's on point or whether he's just trying to figure out himself along with you. Is it hard to get up and play? Is it hard to rally around that? Is it hard when the message is not on point to get out there every Sunday?
You know, Jenna, it's not about the coach. There ain't no guy in the NFL that's motivated by his coach to play football. Every guy in the NFL, all 1,600 of those guys, they're living out their dream. So regardless if the coach helps them or not, they got a job to do. They have an assignment to do. So regardless if they get good direction, if they get good coaching, they have a family and they have a career that they have to take care of. So thinking guys won't be motivated to play because the coach is off point. Oh, no. Because each one of those guys, you know what's going to happen in Philadelphia with that veteran lineup? They're going to get rid of most of those guys.
But then what?
So guys are looking out for themselves. Like, yes, I don't think that the Eagles in last year, there was no inspiration from Doug Peterson. He didn't come up with the underdog thing. Like, they just built on the momentum. They won 13 games during the regular season, all right? They had a bye. They had a good matchup in the divisional round. They had Case Keenum in the championship game. That crowd was unbelievable. Now, in that game, they played a great football game. And in the Super Bowl, one of the best football games I've ever seen. But since then, what did Doug Peterson learn from that? And all we can say is he's missing an offensive coordinator. He's missing a quarterback coach because after 2 weeks of preparation, I was not pleased with the offensive game plan against Dallas and how they were going to use Golden Tate. All right? I would have come up with something more creative to get Golden Tate involved in the game plan with 2 weeks to prepare.
All right, see, I get what you're saying about the 1,600 guys are self-motivated, but I've also heard you talk. I know how self-motivated you were, but I also know how you talk about Denny Green. So let me ask it this way. Aside from schematic advantage on Sunday, the great coaches, what do they do for the players? Even the self-motivated guys, what edge do the great coaches do? What made Denny better than some of the other coaches you had had?
Some of the great coaches, they can look at aspects of your game that is not a strong suit and tell you things about yourself to try to grow your game. So it's, man, I didn't see myself. And most of these guys think they're very, very talented and have a lot of confidence. But when a coach can take you out of your narrow-mindedness and say, you know something, I believe there's a bigger role for you. James White in New England, you're never going to be a featured back, son. But one day, there's going to be some games where I'm going to throw you 10 passes. There's going to be some games you're going to score 3 touchdowns. There's going to be some games where you're going to be a hero in the Super Bowl. But you're never going to be a featured guy. And James has run with that role because Belichick has carved it out and helped him grow from that. But if you don't tell players what they're going to do and then follow up on it, like their offensive line, they can't be physical. Guys are not, they're having guys not having great years, so it's hard for the coach to be able to lie to guys. Denny Green was a great coach. I have not seen that in Doug Peterson. Yes, he's won a Super Bowl, but, man, he just happened to be on the right team at the right time, and they came up with the plays. Now, he did call the Philly special. I give him a lot of credit from that. But has he grown from that? There's just a lot of questions in his day-to-day decision-making from my perspective.
Peterson's, in my eyes, got to bridge the gap between a gutsy coach that understands the numbers, which I think he is, to the gap from there to a consistently advantageous head coach.
Right.
You know, I think there are the Philly special, what they do on 4th downs. I think Philly is a smart, gutsy team, but that doesn't make that's not all that coaching is. The other part of it is the stuff it seems to me he's learning on the fly.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, talk some basketball. Have we seen the last of Carmelo Anthony in the NBA? That's next on First Things First. Back here on First Things First, we're talking Carmelo Anthony, or as some in NBA circles call it, melodrama. Looks like Carmelo Anthony's short time with the Rockets has already come to a close. That despite CeCe's emphatic rooting for the gentleman this season. We tried, see. According to reports. Yeah, but he was in it.
As soon as I root for a guy, he quits.
Hey, that's usually my block, my corner. Also how you say it. According to reports, Melo's representatives are looking at potential destinations for the 16-year former star. Melo's averaging a career low 13.4 points this season. All right, Nick, is Melo being unfairly blamed for the Rockets' slow start?
Listen, as a wise man once said, everybody needs a fall guy at times, and Melo is the fall guy right now for the Rockets. But he's been a big part of the problem. He's not the only problem. Melo could leave today, and the Rockets still have got major issues. They are still not the defense they were last year, and not even close to the offense they were last year. But Melo's been really bad. There's no denying it. This is now the second straight year Melo was supposed to be the third star on a team that had an unquestioned top 2, and he couldn't fill that role. And listen, I'm a Syracuse graduate. I have always been a Carmelo Anthony supporter, and I think he's become a historically underrated player. With all that said, I don't know what Melo's role is in the NBA at this point. It's not just about not accepting a role. It's about a drastically deteriorated skill set and a game that has not aged well. And by the way, a lot of guys don't age into their 16th season well. LeBron's kind of changed the way we look at it, but yeah, it got real bad real quick for Melo in the last 3 years, and this is where we're at right now. So I don't think he's to blame for everything with Houston, but he's certainly not part of the solution.
I'm not going to put Melo as far as blaming what's going on in Houston, but what's happened in his career, he can only look to himself to blame. Because if you look during his career, he never looked at changing. He never looked at changing his game. And more importantly, the thing that's hurting him now is he never looked at changing his body. And if you're going to be a professional athlete and you're going to try to maximize what you have, yeah, he scored the basketball at a great level. He might be whatever list Nick has him on. I don't care. But did he maximize his talent? Hell no. He should have been better. He could have been in better shape. He could have been a defensive player. He chose not to. So, yes, he did have a great career. This is not even about, oh, Houston, is he to blame for Houston? Melo's to blame for his deterioration. Because Dwayne Wade, when he's fading out, we don't say nothing about Dwayne Wade. You know the reason why?
Why?
Because he did everything. He hired Michael Jordan's old attorney. His knees and everything, they betrayed him. So he went out at least giving himself the best chance to have a great career. I know it's not just the championships. It's what do you do? Chris Paul. I can't fault Chris Paul if he never wins a championship. You know the reason why? Man, he's one of the toughest guys. Every year, he was prepared to try to put his team in a position. Did he have some unfortunate breaks at the unfortunate times? Yes. But did he put himself in the best position that he could be the most successful? Yes. Melo? No. You got to take better care of your body if you want to be able to maximize. But it also lets you know what type of talent that he did have.
I agree with nearly all of that. But what I do think is
Tell me where I'm wrong then.
What? I said I agree with nearly all of that. I think it's a little, the only part, if you're saying tell you where you're wrong, the only part that I think you're glossing over too much is, yes, he was a great scorer. Melo was a professional scorer, which is what we've had in this league for as long as the NBA has existed. For as long as the NBA has existed, teams have been totally fine with having a guy on their team. What's your job? Get us 25 a night? Not much else. Like, there's no shame in that. Guys have made the Hall of Fame on that. Like, that has been a great career path for some great players. That's that. So I don't want to gloss over that part of it. But the other thing is, and I'm glad you mentioned Dwayne Wade, guys deteriorating starting in year 10, which is when it really happened with Melo. Melo's peak was right about year 10. That was the year that LeBron was one vote away from the unanimous MVP, and that one vote was for Carmelo Anthony. Since then, he's gotten worse each year to where now he's nearly unplayable. Dwayne Wade, same draft class. Dwayne Wade actually peaked, I think, in year 6, held that peak for about 3 years, and right around year 10 started slowly deteriorating. His body gave up on him. Dwight Howard, the draft class after Carmelo Anthony, he peaked around year 9 and then slowly has deteriorated.
I would say he peaked in high school, but
okay, all right, fair enough. His NBA peak was around from year 6 to 9 of his career, and then it's gotten worse each and every year. It is what LeBron's doing. We have to throw it out. It's an outlier. You're not supposed to be an excellent player in year 16. Melo thought he could still be last year in year 15 a star. I remember guys.
Last year, he had issues with, he didn't want to come off the bench.
Correct. That has been Melo, I think, as of last year, one of his big problems was not his physical skill and basketball skill, but his mentality of where he was.
Jenna, one thing we have control over, we all control our attitude.
Yeah.
And to me, it's disappointing if Melo, as good a player he's been, as great a career he's had, that he can't even be a role player at the end of his career. To me, that's disgusting. Why can't he? He's in team sports. Why can't he sacrifice? I can play a little defense. I can rebound. If he loves playing basketball that much, and if him and Chris Paul are that good of friends, You wouldn't want to hang out with one of your friends the last year of your career? Like, you can't make any type of contribution? To me, that's disappointing as an athlete.
Well, all right, so that's interesting. So let's stay on that for just a second. See, you think at this point Melo has the ability to do things he's not doing? I don't think he has the ability.
No, I think it's a bad character flaw for him not to be able to do some of these things.
But it was if he got lobotomized, if he was hypnotized, if it was, I'm saying you think his body would allow him right now to be a good defender, to be a good role player, because I just think his skills have deteriorated.
Nick, when you're young and you decide I ain't gonna play no defense, you think you're gonna play some defense when you get old?
No, that's correct.
So his overall mentality and not even approaching basketball the right way. He has never even tried to be an elite rebounder, trying to be a marginal defender. He has never tried. 2 years ago, we was watching all these videos of Hoodie Melo. He was going around losing weight. He wasn't trying to be a complete player. All he's trying to do is get his shots up. That has been his consistent theme. How do I get my shots up? So he didn't evolve as a person. He was not aware of himself and was not aware of his career.
So what happens to Melo now?
Man, listen, the Lakers are the Lakers. I know people will say, "Oh, LeBron and the Lakers." LeBron had 2 chances with the Cavs to try to go tell the GM to go make a play for Melo. Never did. I would be shocked if the Lakers look at him. I know there was a report Philly would look at him. Listen, I say this as a Melo fan. Good teams should not add him. I was dead wrong about Melo and the Rockets this year. Dead wrong. I thought he could be a good bench piece. I thought he would be a good 7th guy in their rotation. No. And so if you're any team that has real championship or playoff aspirations, he is not going to be of benefit to you on the court. He's just not right now an above-average NBA player. That's where he is.
You're not the only one. Houston made tremendous mistakes because they thought getting rid of Trevor Ariza and Luke Mashar-Baramute that, oh, this is going to be okay. Oh, those guys can be replaced. Yeah. How's it looking now? How your defense looking now? How's your spot-up shooters looking now? They really missed those 2 players, and there were people on this network who said they were going to dearly miss them, and that team wouldn't even be able to approach the type of team that they had last season.
And that, to full circle, those moves are a bigger part of Houston's issues than Melo's struggles. That's why he can't be fully to blame, or even the majority of the blame. But Washington Wizards should bring him in so he can be with Dwight and John Wall and just be a nice little...
No more with Melo. We're done.
Oh, we're done? You're ending his career?
Listen, I've been very quiet.
He quit.
I've been very quiet. He quit on us. We quit on him. It's terrible to say, but I'm done talking.
Have we ever had a player bought out from a buyout?
Much more.
I know.
Good
first
Lord.
right after this. Welcome back to First Things First. Pro Bowl linebacker Bart Scott joins us.
Brought in. What up, bro?
Speaking of which, it's pouring outside. The Tide did bring you in.
Oh, yeah. It's somebody washed out into the bank, too. That's what got me here so late. That's why I'm IFB-less. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good.
Oh, yeah, no, we got you. We got you covered. Glad to have you.
I can't hear people in the back telling me.
All you need to hear people in the front telling you that. So that's all that really matters. Hey,
listen to Jenna.
Bart, big win for the Cowboys on Sunday, beating the Eagles, and in the process keeping their playoff hopes alive. And while on paper it was just a divisional game for 2 mediocre teams, don't tell Jerry Jones that. After the win, he said, quote, "In light of last week, this becomes one of the real, for me, memorable games. So when you're feeling low and seeing the Grim Reaper and then come in and have your team perform the way these guys are, I promise you it's a special feeling. It is a lift. I won't need any wings on that airplane getting back to Dallas tonight." Because drama classes. What is it, C?
I'm just worried about that lift because, Jerry done had a facelift or 2. Is it the same kind of lift? Because he was like this, and then he got that lift. He was like, ugh.
Always smiling, happy face. Give me the happy face.
Are you as gung-ho about the Cowboys' playoff picture as Jerry Jones is?
Not yet. Now, I tell you, they're up and down team. They're a middle of the pack team, but so is that division. You look at the Redskins, a 6-3, losing 3 of their top linemen. They're going to be vulnerable. According to Odell, they think that they still have a shot if they run the table. Right. I think, really a lot of the warts that the Philadelphia Eagles came out and showed themselves, they don't have elite, outside cornerbacks falling for the double move, being exposed over the top. But also Zeke Elliott. And if they want to be a successful team, they want to have opportunity with that type type of defense that can be a shutdown type of defense with pass rushers and good enough guys on the outside. I love the linebackers of the Cowboys. They can be in a lot of games. They have to understand who they are, what their identity is. They're a running football team that plays stout defense. They can't think that the offense has to run through Dak. Dak just has to make enough plays to win the ball game.
I can understand why Jerry would have excitement, because if they're going to be a winning football team, they're going to have to play the way they did on Sunday. Not the way they did on the previous Monday against the Titans, where they
which is what? Which is play the way they did on Sunday, which is Zeke play that way? Or
identity
Dak do
and the
enough?
quarterback.
Okay.
You have to keep that quarterback and keep a harness on him. Now, you can't think that, oh, no, we're going to try to win a different style. So in doing that, I like the recipe. They allowed their offensive linemen to get out and get up on those linebackers, create holes for Zeke. Dak, not too much pressure on him. We're going to start the party with Amari Cooper. We don't have a tight end, but these other guys, Cole Beasley, Hearns and them, if they can make one or two catches with Amari being our featured guy, and we're going to feature that defense. We're going to get them in long yardage situations, get after that quarterback, and know that they have some special players in their linebacking core, in these young linebackers. So, yes, if they can keep that style of play, I can understand why Jerry would be very, very excited. But the thing is it duplicatable? Can they repeat it? And that's why they've been so inconsistent, because they want their quarterback to be a thrower of the football. And when they try to get in those situations, that's when they lose their identity and they're not an effective football team.
Jerry's excited, much like someone who's on death row gets a stay of execution. They're going to be very excited. But that ain't no pardon. That doesn't mean you get to go free. If they lost on Sunday, their season was over. They maybe are firing the coach this week. They didn't get any real reprieve. They got a temporary reprieve until the next loss. And so if they reel off, we know what Dallas' schedule is. They've got Thursday Night Football, they've got Atlanta, and then Thursday Night Football, Washington, Thursday Night Football, New Orleans. You go 3-0. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, at the end of the year, Indy, Tampa Bay, and the Giants. Like, we got a nice little
I hadn't even looked at that schedule.
Atlanta, Washington, New Orleans.
I mean, my goodness. If they hadn't won that Philadelphia game,
their season's over. And so now they have the ability to, at least for another week, keep hope alive.
That's a beautiful thing in sports.
Right, absolutely. Hope. And it makes sure your team doesn't let go of the rope. It makes sure guys are attentive at the meetings, I would imagine. You can spin it to them. Hey, guys, here's all we got to do. We control our division. We do that. Fine, you can keep spinning that. And I get why Jerry, who's the ultimate salesman, would want to keep spinning that. But does it change my opinion? No. You got 33 quarterbacks in the league throwing for 275 yards. You ain't got one of them. You have an offensive line that's the highest paid in football that up until Sunday had been playing like a slightly above average offensive line. I don't believe in the Cowboys yet. I don't believe the Cowboys got it turned around. To me, Sunday was about two things: Zeke and whatever the hell is wrong with Philly. Like, that's what I took from Sunday, not that the Cowboys are all of a sudden back on track.
You use words like they haven't figured it out yet, and we're saying if they play like this, they could be okay. It took them 9 games to figure out that this, with only one thing that's really been different besides that coach leaving. That's the only, you bring Amari Cooper, and all of a sudden that was the difference. You have the same pieces that you had all season long.
Yeah, well, more downhill runs, right, because they fired the coach and put Colombo in. So now they're having double teams and getting up to the line, getting to the second level, getting away from that Denver type of blocking style. But also you forget when you bring Amari Cooper in, you're like, well, maybe this is why Dak has been struggling. Dak still struggled in Amari Cooper's first game there, throwing it to double coverage, throwing across his body, not keeping his fundamentals. Now you say, listen, it's not the receiving core, it's Dak. This is what he can do. Let's make sure that he can do what he does well. Play action. Let's lean on Ezekiel Elliott, because Ezekiel Elliott should have won that Rookie of the Year, not Dak Prescott, because he was the best rookie and the leader of that team. He's the engine that makes this team go. Whenever you got to creep that 8th man into the box, it allows Dak to have easy reads. Easy reads, understand that I got one-on-one outside, somebody's one-on-one, and all he has to do is look at the rotation of the safety, and he knows exactly where to go with the ball to give him his chances. If you don't run Zeke and people see that Zeke isn't part of the game plan, then they're going to stay too high and tell you, Dak, you got to beat us with 11 plays down the field, and he can't do that. He can't make those elite throws into tight windows.
Yeah, and Bart and I both believe, too, like the season is not made after 8, 9, 10 games. Because if you can even be at 4-6 after 10 games, I mean, you can get white hot at the end, go 5-1, barely get in the playoffs, and still be able to do some damage. We just don't think that the Cowboys can do it based on the schedule and based on we don't think that they can repeat that. And we believe there's going to be 2 or 3 games where they try to put Dak as a thrower, and then those games are going to have trouble.
They can't fall behind. They can't fall behind in games because that puts the game in Dak's hands.
They can barely do it when they're ahead, so they definitely can't fall behind. Bart, stick around. Coming up, are the Steelers actually better off without L. Bell? Next on First Things First. Thursday, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and the Packers battle Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in a fierce NFC showdown. All starts at 7:30 Eastern on Fox NFL Network, streaming on Prime Video. It's going to be a good game.
Oh, my goodness. It's a critical game.
Classics. Man, they've had a couple of the best games you ever want to see, a couple of the best finishes.
All right, Bart, we're going to get to L. Bell in a second, but first, a little Monday Night Football, a couple of big plays from last night. Eli to Sterling. Giants beat the Niners. How many butt cheeks landed in the end zone?
Oh, wow, Jenna Wolfe.
Oh, man, you like it. Jenna learned that.
All right, I was going to say
one cheek is like 2 feet.
Yeah, 1 butt equals 2 feet.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're doing your legs. We got a guy, Bryant, in control of our talent. You see Bryant, how ripped he is shoulder-wise?
Yeah.
He never does legs, Bart. So his cheeks couldn't do that.
Brian's stressed out today.
He might have fractured his hip on that one because he ain't got no glue. He ain't firing that thing.
Oh.
Thunder Sons, Paul George rewards Jeremy Grant's hustle.
That's a little showtime. That surprised me.
Oh, look at that. Jeremy Grant, where'd he go to school?
Well, his dad was a great leaper. His dad was a great leaper.
Harvey?
Stop.
Somebody say where Jeremy Grant went to school. Oh, that's right, Syracuse. Top 15 basketball.
Yeah, we have to resurrect their name after what Melo did to him.
Tyler Johnson lobs it up to Derrick Jones Jr.
They got some leapers in Miami, man. They got Bam, Hassan Whiteside known to do a little something, and then Derrick Jones Jr. See, he jumps from the...
Called him pogo stick.
I mean, the semicircle.
Yes, watch it. He takes one step over the free throw line. What? Give me that.
God, there's...
Stretch arm something. Jenna, he needs to get on your arm program, though, because dude is nothing but arms and legs.
They should go full-time to that court and those jerseys. The Miami Vice look.
I was watching. I was like, dang, that looked like American Airlines.
The Miami Vice look.
Moving on to Le'Veon Bell now. A lot of talk that'll probably end with Bell not playing a snap of football this season. According to multiple reports, Bell is unlikely to report to the Steelers by today's 4 p.m. deadline. That would make him ineligible to play for the rest of the way. Bart, what do you make of the way L. Bell has handled this entire situation?
Well, I'll be shocked if he doesn't show up, for 4 o'clock because I always thought that he was trying to make sure he wasn't traded, had an ability to still show that he was an elite player, because we haven't seen him play. We still believe that he's elite, but he had an opportunity to kind of get a chance to win a Super Bowl and then move on to a team with a Super Bowl ring or another appearance. I think he's making a mistake because, I'm not counting another man's money. But, I would want to get at least that $6 million and plus that playoff money with the opportunity to get some more endorsements if I turn out. We've seen how Connor looks in his offense. We haven't seen how L. Bell looks in his offense. He could be more dynamic, and I think he's going to be coming with fresh legs. But reports are that he's a little pudgy, so maybe he was enjoying himself a little bit too much on the jet skis and maybe be a little concerned that he's not in football shape.
With respect, I think the absolute worst thing he could do is show up today at this point because – if he can hold through 4 p.m. today, he guarantees he hits free agency.
Found a loophole.
Healthy. Say it again?
Found a loophole.
Found a loophole, fine. By any means necessary, I guess. And that was his whole prerogative all along, was to hit free agency healthy. I don't think people hold a year out of football against running backs. I don't think all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, I think he's not going to be as patient, not as good at hitting the holes.
I can guarantee you there is at least one owner and one general manager is saying, I do not want that guy in my locker room.
Oh.
I do not want a guy making business decisions in front of my team. So he did not enhance the pool. No, absolutely. That part I can guarantee.
I actually totally agree with that. When I said they don't hold it against running backs, my point is I don't think there's a GM that thinks his skills got worse. They might question his football character. They might question, do I want this guy in my locker room? I get that part of it. But I don't think it's going to be like, oh, when we sign him, what's he going to be as a football player? He knew that the Pittsburgh Steelers, when he wasn't approaching his final year with them, used him more than any running back had been used in NFL history. He also remembers, I'm sure, what Mike Tomlin...
But we act like that's a negative thing.
It's a positive and a negative.
They're treating it like a rental car, right? You don't drive a rental car like you drive a car you own.
Wasn't that reason why we made him special?
Sure.
Because of the wear and tear, because his durability, because he also played outside the numbers?
Yeah, but it's only a matter of time when you're getting used that much before something happens. We saw the injury that happened against the Steelers in the playoff game. He understands that life for a running back in the NFL after 30 is short-lived, and nobody's going to give him that money coming off a 400 carry or 400 touches.
I think this is a situation where we've talked about certain trades in the NFL, certain situations where it's a win-win. I think this has been a lose-lose for all parties involved. I do not think it's been best for Le'Veon Bell's long-term bank account or long-term career to sit out a full year of football, even though I think it's better to do that than to play a third of a season and still risk all the injury without the money. And I don't think it's been best for the Steelers. If they all had to do this over again 2 years ago, I think they get something done.
Or trade him.
Or trade him to a team that wants to get something done. Like, I think for the Steelers, this hasn't worked out well. For Le'Veon, this hasn't worked out well. But given where they are today, I don't think he should show up.
Just the pure numbers of it. When L. Bell was the featured back for those 5 years, 13 through 17,
yep.
Points per game, 25. Now with Connor, 31. It's a small sample size, but this is real. And this is why I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers won. In yards per game, 378, L. Bell, now 419. Third down conversions, 41%, now 48%. Red zone, which is the most important, 55 conversion, 13 to 17. Now they're converting 78% of them. The reason why Pittsburgh has won, because they found a featured running back. They found a more charming story. James Conner would have been a first-round pick had not he had been diagnosed with the condition he had in college. So he's a local kid. You think they're not going to throw their arms around him at that minimum contract that they have him as a third-round pick over the next couple years? You think they didn't win in that locker room? The general manager, you think they didn't win that locker room? Because L. Bell did not get the demands that he wants. So I can pick out a couple points. James Conner being discovered, his overall great story, and the hard line that the front office took that those guys in the locker room realized, man, they didn't do that for L. Bell. Who else in that locker room can hold them up for a king's ransom?
I tell you what, I'm saying I'm out of here because they ain't going to pay me. So I'm leaving here as a free agent. And if anything that James Conner can learn from Le'Veon Bell, to understand that he needs to preserve his body, because it's a good story now, because he's playing with house money, because he's getting an opportunity to feature what type of back he is. But what's going to happen when it comes time for them to pay him? Are they going to pay him? If they're smart, they'll lock him up early. Usually what the Steelers do is pay you before you earned it, give you an extension, so then they own you at a market rate that's under market value.
Does this affect the way other people, other players, other running backs will handle the situation if it comes up?
I don't see how it can't. I think I remember when we were talking about Odell with Coach Mangini and about whether or not to give him an extension, right? And Coach Mangini said, man, you got him for the next 3 years. Yeah. You got him for his 5th-year option, franchise tag, then you can franchise him again. Well, that math is now different for teams. They now know that once you franchise a player once, they have the ability, if they are willing, to go to the mattresses and sit out either a full year or the 10 games and then show up.
Yeah, I don't see guys doing it. Guys love their money. I do not see this as being a precedent.
Because how much was left on the table this year?
$14 million.
$14
million.
But still, how much money did Earl Thomas lose by hurting himself? So I don't care. I want to see in a calendar year what Le'Veon Bell bank account looks like, opposed to if he would have played and got injured.
Right, so that's the unknown of this is obviously if he would have played, which is why I wouldn't show up today, and got hurt, then he did make this is a better path than that.
Let me tell you something you can't put a dollar amount on, and this is something I know. I'm pretty good friends with a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys who have won trophies. Jerome Bettis, Mean Joe Green, Mel Blount, all these guys I consider to be my dearest of friends. They make money for the rest of their life because they Pittsburgh Steelers and they world champions. This is a great organization. He had a chance to potentially lead them to a Super Bowl championship. Y'all put an equation on how much money that's going to be for the rest of his lifetime, because I've been out of the game 16 years. And being a Hall of Famer and all the things and benefits of that, there's a price tag on it. And I'm collecting. L. Bell, I believe he forfeited some of that because he's with one of the greatest franchises in the history of this game and one of the most respected.
They hated him. He come win the championship with the Jets, he'll never pay for nothing in his life again either. Matter of fact, just take him to the playoffs.
Bart, we'll see you a little bit later. Coming up, do the Patriots have serious problems after losing to the Titans last week? Next on First and Spur. Tonight, Wisconsin faces Xavier at 6:30 Eastern. Tomorrow, reigning champs Villanova face the Michigan Wolverines in a rematch of last year's national championship game. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern. The Gavitt tip-off game is sponsored by Jeep, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
If you need
slow night in the NBA, get over there and watch it. Check it out.
If you need your basketball fix, Wisconsin Xavier is the only place to get it till about 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, America. Unless you want to see the Cavs play the Hornets. I might bet that game, but I ain't watching it.
Back here, first things first, we are going viral. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., had a team-high 73 receiving yards, 2 scores in last night's Giants win over the Niners, with OBJ working on his footwork before the game, breaking out the sideways moonwalk, entering the stadium, which isn't bad, but Odell compared to...
He changed his hair color, too.
Yeah.
His hair color matches his suit. It's like a silver white. Oh, no.
Oh, look at that. That was.
Whoa.
That's how you do
Okay.
the moonwalk. Oh, really? That impresses you somehow?
Let's
Okay,
Oh,
there
Jenna,
you
you
go.
can't dance now.
Okay.
You can moonwalk, but you know you can't dance. Oh, there you
Fell
go.
into the direction.
Tore ACL. Tore ACL going through
No,
the...
just hold on. I was doing so well and then didn't realize and fell back into which I thought we could cut
Oh,
out
don't
early
worry. Your
with the
curls broke your
hands
fall.
and
You got
all
a lot of
it.
curls off of that head.
You're in great shape, Jenna Wolfe.
For what?
In that video, you are in great shape.
You sit next to her every day.
I know. I'm really just trying to mess with her because that video's from about a year ago, and now the rest of the show, she's going to be like, was I in better shape then than now?
No, it wasn't. I was definitely,
Was
if you want me to be honest, I was in worse shape then. I was 3% higher in body fat, but that's okay. We won't have to talk about that. That
Well,
being
find
said,
that 3%
Jenna,
you
you're still
lost.
getting your body fat measured, really?
I am.
Okay.
Daily.
Go ahead, ask me.
No, I'm not
no.
doing that. No, I'm not doing that. I mean, I know better.
All right, time for
No way
stories.
it's over
Got to
16.
Start-
Bart back out here. Nick could be hosting the show. Jenna be down crying or something.
Stories to start.
He asked me a question. I answered.
Two underwhelming teams duking it out on Monday Night Football.
You got it, Jenna.
Giants beat the 49ers 27-23. The aforementioned OBJ with 2 touchdowns, with Eli Manning finding Sterling Shepard in the end zone with less than 2 minutes to go for the win. Nick, what'd you take away from this game?
Man, that I must really love football because I said to myself, I'm not going to watch this game. I know we're not going to talk about it much. And then I found myself watching the whole damn game. It was a nice comeback from the Giants. I know Giants fans a little disappointed. Our producer, Ket, who's a Giants fan, is like, if they're going to win, don't beat the teams that we're fighting with for the #1 pick. But I think winning's always good, and it was nice to see the offense actually look functional for the first time in quite some time.
Jenna, what do I tell Nick about all that being smart and everything all the time?
It's overrated.
It's overrated and everything, because haven't we learned enough from people being on television talking about what they was going to watch and what they weren't going to watch? Me and Jenna was glued to the tube. We wanted to see the Giants' high-powered offense. We wanted to see, man, we wanted to see that. See what kind of adjustments they was getting ready to make. See if McAdoo was going to coach. McAdoo ain't even the coach no more. But me and Jenna was watching. Me and Jenna know better.
This is so ridiculous.
I'm not on camera, but I'm sending you good juju. Bad news for the
They
Rams.
fired McAdoo, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Sean
gone.
McVay.
You know that if you did watch, like I did.
Sean McVay will be doing some roster maneuvering this week. That's because receiver Cooper Kupp is out for the year with a torn ACL. Kupp caught 40 passes for over 560 yards and 6 touchdowns. See, how big of a loss is this for L.A.?
It's a big loss because he plays a key role in what they do. Their #1 formation they play is 31 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, or 1
right?
running back. It depends on what coach you're going to.
Okay.
A guy that, when they play more of it, they call it 31 because it's easier. That's going to be their one. Most other teams, they're not in 31 personnel as much, so they call it 13.
Sorry, I shouldn't have gotten you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's okay. There's a couple different ways to skin a
Nick,
cat.
let me tell you something about gambling.
But I do believe, though, that this is when you rely on Sean McVay. All right? This is what he's supposed to get creative, because I need that productivity replaced, and you expect this young, bright offensive mind at 32 for him to be able to come up with a scheme to replace that productivity that I thought was fairly significant. When you start getting down to now Kansas City or the Rams, I have to lean on more towards Kansas City because of the weapons, and Cooper Kupp was a big weapon lost by the Rams.
And I think in this specific game against Kansas City, it's also interesting. Right now, the NFL's got people in Mexico City because they're worried about the turf down there.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got, we saw it last night in that terrible turf they have in San Francisco, guys falling down. So we're now going to have a replacement slot receiver. We're trying to run those option routes, trying to have quick turns or whatever it is. Like, so that, to me, at least in this game, could be meaningful. And for the season could be meaningful because Cooper Kupp is not just some replaceable slot guy.
All right, finally, we're talking Patriots, who find themselves in some uncharted waters, coming off a bad loss to the Titans on the road. So the Patriots now head into the bye at 7-3. Tom Brady said this is when your team has to figure out who you really are.
This is when, you really figure out what kind of team you are. And it hasn't been all good. It hasn't been all bad. There's a lot of good things to take. There's, some bad things to take from the past 10 weeks. But we put ourselves in a position to finish strong. And, we've got to go out and take advantage of that. And it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication by everybody to get it done. And, that'll define what happens with our season.
All right, so it begs the question, how good are the Patriots really, Nick?
At home, they're awesome. On the road, you got major questions. 3 blowouts on the road, just lost by 24 points. The teams they've lost to on the road are not good football teams. I think they're combined for something like 8-18 on the year. Lost to the Jags, who are a bad football team. Lost to the Lions, who are a bad football team. Lost to the Titans, who are a fine football team. So real questions about who they are on the road, and why it matters is this. Patriots setting themselves up for some very unfamiliar territory with another loss or two. See, since Brady and Belichick been together, how many wild card playoff games do you think they've played in?
None.
They've not on the Super Bowl years they've played in none, but in the totality of their time, they've played in 3 wild card round games.
Really?
Think about that. They've been in the playoffs.
But they've never won, though.
They've never won a Super Bowl from the wild card round. They've never been to a Super Bowl from a wild card round.
Yes, I already got that one programmed in.
No,
you got to be careful asking me all these questions and everything.
I apologize.
Trust me, I got burned yesterday. The answer is 3. It's 3. It's 1. It's 1.
The
Whatever you want it to be, Nick. It's anything.
All right. You guys are funny. The point is this. Patriots under Brady and Belichick been to the playoffs 15 times. 12 of those times they've had a bye. Since 2004, they have 1 road playoff win. Think about that. Since 2004, they've been to 5 Super Bowls since then. They've won 1 road playoff game, the divisional round game in 2006. They haven't played many. They're 1-4 on the road in the playoffs since their 3rd Super Bowl. Like, the Pats have been 12 wins, every single year this decade.
Yes.
And so the reason it's concerning is there isn't evidence that they can win 3 straight playoff games to get to a Super Bowl. There isn't evidence they go on the road to get to Super Bowls. So that's why 3 losses for the Pats is more concerning than it would be for almost any other team in football.
Every team's making adjustments coming down the stretch. The Pats have a very important bye week. Because if you look at the last couple of weeks, Gronk being out, and they go into a bye week, if they come out of that bye week and Gronk's not playing, we got serious problems. Because it's been basically a month of time where he has been limited in what he can do, if doing anything. So that's something I want to watch. I know they're going to make an adjustment. I believe in the last 6 games, if they're going to go 5-1. Right? They're going to be right back at 12 wins again. Now, this is the problem. We know that they've never done it. But let's say the greatest coach and the greatest quarterback, that they do it one time. And it's this time because look at the teams who they would have to go to. They'd have to go to either Kansas City, maybe go to the Chargers, or go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they got their number. They wouldn't be afraid of them. And these other teams, they got no experience. So when you look at this, might be the year. Yeah, that the Patriots, that they have to go in that wild card round or go a different route than the way they've had success. But this would be the year to do it because Kansas City, we know how young they are in their quarterback. Pittsburgh, they got their number. Would they be afraid of going to? Would there be a home field advantage in the playoffs with the Chargers? Would you say in that stadium and everything?
Los Angeles, absolutely not. It would be I would say if the Pats played a road game against the Chargers in the playoffs, I would say the Pats would have 80% of the crowd. New England would travel no. In that regard, that specific instance, I agree with you.
So this might be that odd year if they were to have that type of year where they weren't the 1 or 2 seed, that they could still represent the AFC in Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta because of lack of experience in AFC.
If you're right and they go 5-1 the rest of the way, it's a moot point. 12 wins will get them one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC. Especially,
just out of curiosity, the next 5 games for the Patriots.
Man, the Patriots, because they're in the AFC East,
man. Don't forget the Jets, the Dolphins,
right?
Buffalo.
They've got
Buffalo just cut my dude Peter Burger.
I know.
I just figured his name out. I mean, seriously, you got to keep them. When I start remembering people's name, you got to keep them on the roster.
They got two tough games left. Home for the Vikings and at the Steelers. Other than that, at the Jets, at Miami, home for Buffalo, home for the Jets.
So the Vikings and Steelers are must-wins for them.
They got to split them,
at least
I feel
win
like.
one.
Just only got to win one. I think they're going to sweep their division the rest of the way. You know what I mean? So I think they'll win those 4 divisional games. What they can't do is go 0-2, home against the Vikings, and then at Pittsburgh.
Jenna, you said it. Some kind of way, some kind of how, Pats will be there.
12
they do.
wins every year.
No one does it better than they do, figuring it out. Back to the NBA now. LeBron James has had a rather strange and challenging start to the season. Yeah, the Lakers are 7-6, but they started 0-3, and they've had their share of ups and downs. And it's those downs that have taken a toll on LeBron James, who had this to say after beating the Kings on Saturday. I haven't changed anything outwardly, but you know me. You know how I am. I almost cracked last week. I had to sit back and remind myself, you knew what you were getting into. This process has been good for me. I just have to continue being patient. What do you make of what LeBron James had to say, Chris?
I would just be careful with playing too much on the cracked part, because you're talking about a kid that grew up. Recently, we were seeing the Nike commercial when he was a teenager.
It's a great ad, man.
But since he's been 15, this kid, he had some hardships in his life personally. So cracking to him and what he's talking about, he's just talking about losing his cool, interjecting his personality, interjecting his basketball IQ, interjecting what I think should be done, which he has done several other times. He's made mistakes doing this, but he realized in making this transition and going west to the Lakers, man, I got to do some trusting. I got to trust Magic Johnson.
Yes.
He's going to get the right player. I got to trust that Magic's right about Luke Walton, or at least I got to let it play out without me getting involved to be able to alter the course of the team. So that's what I think that LeBron is actually talking about. But we can't forget what a huge transition that he's been through. 8 years being in the finals, 4 in Miami, 4 there in Cleveland, moving his whole family, taking on this new project. Nick, is this the youngest team he's ever played with?
Since his rookie year. And it's other than his rookie year, it's far and away the youngest. It's every team he played with in Miami or the second stint in Cleveland, the average age was at least 28. The average age of this team's 25.
That's why I believe in being able to get the buyout of Tyson Chandler, not just because of a defensive and someone to have, because they were having low post problems, but to have someone who LeBron can identify with. They have history together on the Olympic team, someone who's older, someone who's a little more mature compared to, man, all these young first-round picks and everything. I believe it was very, very important. I believe you could see that even in the celebration in the game-winning block against the Hawks the other night. So I believe where LeBron is, he's trying to stay out of it, Jenna. He's trying to let everything run its course, because he doesn't want to make a mistake and realize, I don't want to overreact in the short term, realizing the long term what we're trying to do here.
That is exactly right. When he says cracked, what he means is stray from the plan. The plan was to see who Luke Walton is, and the only way you can see that is to run his stuff. You know what I mean? If you're not going to learn who your leader is if you're not following his leadership. The plan was to let Ingram and Kuzma and Lonzo at times, or Josh Hart, whomever, to have shots at these end-of-game situations, to not just say whatever our offense is, it's going to become LeBron ISO or LeBron high pick and roll every possession down the court for the final 4 minutes. It is to let these guys have moments. But when you're 2-5, and when you are seeing, wait, our team is struggling and losing winnable games. And one of the reasons that I keep bringing up what the Cavs are doing is because I know the folks around LeBron are seeing the Cavs at 1-11, and I'm sure LeBron is also seeing the Cavs at 1-11 and being like, man, that team won 50 games. You know why? Because of me.
Yes.
I could, at any point, do for this team what I was doing for that Cavs team. Now, maybe the win total will be different because it's tougher out west, but which is everything late in games comes down to me.
Yep.
But he wasn't worried about anyone on that Cavs team developing into their best version of the NBA player, because none of those guys mattered as far as what he was doing moving forward. And that year, if they were going to compete in the playoffs, it was going to have to go through him anyway.
And one reason why LeBron should be patient in this situation is, if you look at the young players, they're actually better with LeBron. And people will wonder, well, why would you question that? Last year, the Cavs made 2 different sets of trades. And those players, they were not at their best with LeBron on the court. And so that effect on the organization, LeBron could see this, that, you know something, these younger players, I can be patient because Ingram, he is better with LeBron playing this more reduced role. Kuzma has thrived the best. He's the best to me of the younger players. And even Lonzo, as much as you might want to criticize some aspects of his game, it's not because LeBron. All right, so they're going to have to make up their mind on these talents on their own and realizing, do we move forward with these 3 younger players?
Quickly, LeBron knows this, and Luke Walton knows this, Magic Johnson knows this, Nick Wright knows this. Do those players know what he's doing? Do they know that when he relinquishes a little bit of the LeBron at the end of games, it's because he's trying it?
Well, I think you'd
like how much of what he said resonates?
I think you'd have to be foolish not to. And I think here's the thing: they will certainly know the opposite. If he stops doing it, if all of a sudden at the end of games it's you stand in that corner, you stand in that corner, you come set a screen every time down the court, they'll see it. And now it could, in the short term, I do believe in the short term, that would, instead of being 7-6, if you'd been doing that, I think it's probably 9-4. But it is not about your exact seeding in the West this year. It is about, man, they probably could have got Kawhi. But they waited a year on getting a guy because they think Ingram can be a star. They think Lonzo can be a star. You don't not trade for Kawhi to then not let those guys develop. That would be straying from the plan. That would be cracking. And that would be LeBron, as he said, losing his patience. The only thing LeBron's done that's straight for the plan so far this year is call up James Jones and be like, hey, champ, Tyson Chandler said you're going to buy him out in a few months.
Yeah, had to call in one of them favorites.
I'm going to need that right now, man. I'm going to need you to go buy him out right now, man.
Can't wait till before the All-Star break.
Can't wait anymore. No problem, Bron. We got you, man.
We got to take a break. Coming up, should Doug Peterson be blaming himself for the Eagles' struggles? Next on First Things First. Bart Scott back with us, and we're talking Eagles. The team that cruised to a Super Bowl win last season has been cruising in circles this season. Currently 4-5 and coming off a disappointing loss to the Cowboys. They now head to New Orleans to try and salvage a playoff run against arguably the best team in the league. It's called a challenge. Doug Peterson addressed all of that yesterday.
They're disappointed. They're disappointed in the way they play. They're disappointed in the outcome of the game. And they know that, we talk about having no regrets. No regrets during the week and no regrets on Sundays. And right now we got to continue to work on that.
It's the first time, though, that you guys have said that messaging of having to look in the mirror, that you've had those moments where you haven't been able to fight through. So do you have to change your messaging at this point to come out the other side?
Well, I think that's something I'd have to consider, quite frankly, because I don't know any other way to do it but to look internally. Am I giving enough as a head football coach? Am I giving enough to the team? Am I giving up? Am I sacrificing enough in my game planning and my study during the week? So I got to look at myself, and that's what I ask the players to do. Is they got to look and see, are they getting extra conditioning? Are they getting extra film study during the week? Are they getting rest at night? That all those things are part of wins and losses, and so that's something that'll never change.
A lot of internal questioning by Doug Peterson as
started with his book tour.
It started with the book tour, which came 5 minutes after the Super Bowl.
He was fat, man. He was fat, and this team was fat. This team was celebrating. They over-celebrated. They got out to a slow start. Guys didn't train like they used to. Jay Ajayi went down. I thought it was a huge mistake, the fact that they didn't go out and address the running back position. They go out and get Golden Tate, who's a nice little piece. But come on.
How much of that is his fault? How much of that can you blame? Everything you just mentioned, how much of that can you pin on Doug Peterson?
Well, not all of it. I want to say that, the way to
Bart, you win the Super Bowl?
Nope.
You get close?
Yeah.
If you had one, was the first thing you do was it been write a book?
Yeah, I might have cashed in. I might have cashed that chip in.
Okay.
I ain't mad at him.
But if you had come back the next year and not been successful, not been to the Pro Bowl, we'd have been looking at you and been like, Bart Scott's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
That's justified.
Trizzle. I think, when you think about how people break down dynasties, what they do is they attack their assistant coaches because they don't get enough credit. Those are the guys that spend the majority of their time with the coaches coaching on the little things. And when I look at this team, I think they're not doing the little things well. You talk about last year, that defense was buttoned up. Now this defense is giving up huge chunks in the run game, but also giving up big plays down the field. That's a lack of discipline. The fundamentals, the same thing you were doing last year. It's the same calls. You should be more comfortable in them now. The packages should be able to grow, and they have bad eyes. You know, Jalen Mills and Darby is just
Darby's done for the year.
Yeah, he blew out, and that's going to hurt him as well because now the backup to the backup has to come in, and that attacks and hurts your special teams.
Here's the thing, man. There's no reason these Eagles couldn't have been the Seahawks. None. It's the same path as the Seahawks were on. Win a Super Bowl in year 2 with a star quarterback. Theoretically, got a great coach. Got an excellent defense. Now, the Seahawks were built on the back end. The Eagles were built on the front end.
I ain't going to allow you to do that, Nick.
What?
Doug Peterson, there ain't nothing the same about him and Pete Carroll.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to build to.
I mean, there's not even the Pete Carroll.
That's the distinction, is the head coach, because what the Seahawks...
Great general manager. Getting players, helping them.
All these things. The big difference is the coach, because the Seahawks, what they did was they won a Super Bowl. Then the next year, they got within a yard of winning it. Then the next year, they get back to the playoffs. They run into an MVP buzzsaw in the Carolina Panthers. The next year, they get to the playoffs again, run into another MVP buzzsaw. That one, the Atlanta Falcons. And then last year, 9 wins. They're alive for the playoffs going into the fourth quarter of Week 17. That's a 5-year run of excellence, of contention. 5 years. Probably could have won 2 of them. Probably should have won 2 of them.
And even sitting here today, the Seahawks are 4-5. We got more confidence in the Seahawks getting in the playoffs than we do the defending world champs who are 4-5 also.
Same record. And the distinction is the head coach. The distinction is what Pete Carroll maybe knew from his first time around in New England, did not make mistakes, what he learned about being a champion in college and how to deal. I don't know what it is, but I do know this, that Doug Peterson has not given us a consistent message week in, week out as far as what he's telling his team. And I can only imagine the message he's been giving the players in the locker room.
Every NFL team I've ever been on, the players take their marching orders from the coach. The coach tells us how we're going to address the media. He will tell us, listen, I'm going to tell you guys this. I'm going to tell the media this. So at least we're on the same marching orders, even from a game plan standpoint. This weekend, man, we're going after Brett Favre. We're going to blitz him. We're going zero coverage. We're going to make it tough for him. In the media, I'm going to tell them, we're going to play conservative. We're concerned about this offense. We're concerned about Brett Favre. We got injuries on the back end. So you go through this exchange week in and week out. And I've sat in the locker room many a days. And when you see that coach speaking and he's saying some stuff that we don't know, man, you start losing confidence in the guy. Because in the locker room, man, there's 20 televisions on. In the weight room, there's 20 televisions on. And I can guarantee you the Eagles and their leaders are not on the same messaging as Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson told the reporter, oh, well, maybe I should look at myself. You should already have that one answered. I mean, I just don't.
Self-doubt when you're on the podium. You shouldn't be wondering what you should do when you're taking almost advice or pointers from the media.
Right, because when you look to your coach, you want answers, you know, to the questions that you have. And when he doesn't know the answers, then where do we go from there? And I wonder how much of the brain trust was Frank Wright, was DeFilippo, in being able to do the red zone type of things. When I look at Carson Wentz throwing the ball 44 times, you can't win that way. And they got beat up. I mean, you talk about a 7-point game. Wentz threw the ball 44 times. That means that they're not being able to effectively run the ball. This offensive line isn't the same. Peters isn't the same player that he was just last year.
Bart, you make a great point because they changed their offense totally after Carson Wentz got hurt. That first game, remember, our boy Nick Foles came in there and they were struggling. And then all of a sudden, that's when we saw the high percentage of RPOs. That's when we saw the threat. They started using multiple running backs, and that's when, for that 2-game stretch, all right, that's when they caught fire. NFC Championship, Nick Foles was unbelievable, and in that Super Bowl, he was unbelievable.
And I can't have, even if he's just almost rambling, doesn't really know what he's saying, I can't have my head coach questioning how hard he's working. I mean, it's an NFL head coach now. Like I was told a long time ago, early in my career, and it's one of the things that stuck with me, you got to figure out which horse you are. Are you the show horse? Are you the money horse? Are you the workhorse? Are you the show horse? Are you the person that we bring in because it's going to be a big, glitzy, glamorous name? Are you the money horse? Are you someone that the sponsors are going to follow that attach money to you? Or are you the workhorse? Are you someone that's always going to bust your ass and no one's going to be able to question how hard you're working? I've obviously decided my only path to anything is to be the workhorse, right?
Well,
That's
it's not obvious to me, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you, see. But for NFL head coaches, all of them got to be the workhorse. Yeah. Nobody's there because of the name, because of the book sales. Everyone's there because you're supposed to be outworking the opponent. It's not because the only show horse NFL coach I can think of is John Gruden. And how the hell's that working out? You all got to be the workhorse. And I don't actually question how hard Doug Peterson's working, but he's questioning how hard he's working. And to me, that's a bad sign
or how
in that
smart
locker room.
He's working as well, because, it doesn't seem like he has the answers. Bad game plan. I look at, really they got beat with the same thing that they did last year with the RPOs. They went to a tight end on the backside. They let the defensive end go. Dak Prescott doing his Russell Wilson impersonation, holding the backside defensive end, take the tight end to the support corner, wash it back, big plays all day.
On Thursday, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers battle Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in a fierce NFC showdown. It all starts at 7:30 Eastern on Fox NFL Network and streaming on Prime Video.
Okay, Pete Carroll, I've been bragging about you, bruh. The guy with all the answers. Fantastic finish. These games have been the last several years.
Back here with Bart Scott, we're talking Patriots. Bad loss to the Titans. They got blown out on the road. A loss so bad, Bill Belichick inserted Brian Hoyer into the game. A loss so bad, Bill Belichick only mumbled a few words in his post-game presser. Although that just means it's a day of the week. New England heads into the bye at 7-3 with some introspection from Tom Brady.
This is when, you really figure out what kind of team you are. And it hasn't been all good. It hasn't been all bad. There's a lot of good things to take. There's, some bad things to take from the past 10 weeks. But we put ourselves in a position to finish strong, and we've got to go out and take advantage of that. And it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication by everybody to get it done. And that'll define what happens with our season.
All right, Bart. So break it down through 10 weeks of the season. How good are the New England Patriots, really?
This isn't the best team that they've had, and they're even worse without Gronkowski because he operates so much real estate on the field that he opens everything up for everybody else. The Patriots got beat up. And, they always lose to teams like that, right? They lose to Jacksonville. They'll lose to a team like the Ravens. They won't lose they won't lose to a team like Kansas City, a team that wants to try to outscore them.
Some of those old Jets teams.
Absolutely. So somebody that can run the football. And, they struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Mariota killed them with his legs, being able to buy time because they don't have a true pass rusher. They don't have somebody that can consistently get after the passer. So if the game is close, and they got out early, 17-point lead in the first quarter, to be able to make the Patriots have to play a certain way, and they couldn't respond. Gronk is going to be huge to their success.
Gronk also missing in the running game. I tell Nick all the time, he's the best offensive lineman they have, and he's one of the best blocking tight ends, especially on the end of the line of scrimmage, you're going to have. Now, they have the designated run blocker in Dwayne Allen, but just what happened to him? He's hurt now. So now you have Dwayne Allen hurt as a bookend. Now, this is an offensive line that as a unit, they're going to be one of the better units because they work well together. But individually, they don't have a lot of just pure raw talent. They're well coached. So now when you take Sony Michel, who's been nicked, and I expect him to be nicked the rest of the year. He came into the season with a knee injury. He has a history of having a bad or questionable knee. I believe that's why he slipped a little bit in the draft to the end of the first round. So now we don't have a dominant running game. We miss Gronk, not only as a receiver down the middle, but now he takes a little bit of that coverage off of Edelman. So now Edelman can't get his thing off the way he normally does. So now I'm dependent on Josh Gordon. And I would love to see Josh be a number one guy. He is really talented, but to have him to be my number one, he is not dependable as far as a route runner. You could see him questioning what his depth with Brady. He fell down on a couple routes. He dropped a couple balls. When you target someone by Tom Brady 12 times and you only come up with 4 receptions, that will be a problem. So I still think New England, They have won Super Bowls with ugly teams like this, but I just don't think with the firepower that's in the AFC and the route that they would have to go, it would make it very, very tough for them, Nick.
I'm going to touch the third rail on this debate, which is, let's talk about number 12 for a moment. Next Gen Stats came out with something yesterday that was shocking, because for years and years and years, you could not blitz Tom Brady. It was a recipe for disaster. I remember Football Outsiders had a stat facing a heavy blitz from 07 to 2016. I think it was 77 touchdowns, 0 picks. Like a heavy blitz, not a regular blitz, but an extra guy. This year, the NFL's lowest rated passer against the blitz, Tom Brady. Passer rating around 56. Now that is something different. That is something we're not used to. The last 3 weeks, when Tom Brady has had one good quarter of football. The game against the Bills, he was not good. First 3 quarters against Green Bay, he was not good. The entire game against the Titans, not good. He's thrown 1 touchdown the last 3 games. Like, Brady has not looked the same since Gronk's been out as well.
Bart, what are they doing to Brady from a defensive standpoint? Because I know you're watching it. They're doing some different coverages and putting some extra people at the line of scrimmage.
See, what they want to, they make sure they set the edges. They know he's not going to run. And then what they're doing is they're bringing somebody up the middle. You saw a lot of times they know he's going to step up, so now they have the extra blitzer, delayed blitzing up the middle. You saw him get sacked twice in the game.
Yeah, it was like he wasn't expecting that guy to come.
Right, because usually everybody goes around, he steps up to the pocket, steps out, and then he steps up right there, bam, right into a defender, and they're setting traps for him. And also what they're doing is they're playing 2-man, because a lot of times when you blitz, it's a zone blitz. Now it's always a place in the zone that's open. Soft in the zone, he's going to find it. They're man blitzing them, making sure that they have everybody accounted for, making them have to throw the ball into tight windows. We all know that if we get Brady to move his feet, he's not as accurate as an Aaron Rodgers, as a Mariota, as a Patrick Mahomes, somebody who can throw the ball on the run across their body.
And listen, and it's showing up on the stat sheet as well. In the first 7 games, Tom Brady was sacked 9 times. You'll take that, no problem. In the last 3 games, he's been sacked 7. So he went from averaging right over 1 sack a game to nearly, what's that, 3 or 2.5 sacks a game. Like, it's showing up, and that's not to mention the times he's throwing the ball away. What are you laughing?
You know it's bad when they pulling out all the tricks. They finally completed the Brady special. Wide open 37.
Oh man, he took that pain though on the ground. That was the bad beat.
The turf monster got him down, and then of course Mariota does the Mariota special, and he picks up the first down. He looks special.
All right, so we all agree that this isn't the best team that they've had, and maybe Tom Brady isn't playing as good a football. Is anyone concerned about their playoff chances? Is any concerned about the path? Is anyone concerned that Josh McDaniels is not going to find a way to somehow turn this around?
Well, you have to be concerned because they've only had the success, and New England's success is winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
All right. So they have even gotten there 3 times and not been successful. But success has been being in the number 1 or the number 2 seed. They make you come to Gillette. We know the type of ball they play. You get win 2 games there at home, get to Atlanta. This year, I still believe that they have a chance because they'll have to go on the road, but the lack of experience in Kansas City and/or with the Chargers, and they have Pittsburgh's number. So this is not the best team. This road might be more difficult because where they would have to go, to me, I would still have confidence that they could still get there.
But if they have to see Kansas City in Kansas City, I thought Kansas City probably drew a lot of confidence about how they went into Gillette and played. Even though in the loss, I feel they left encouraged.
Since they won their 3rd Super Bowl, so from the 05 season and now, they have won 1 road playoff game. Now, it's not because they've been terrible on the road. They're 1-4. That ain't great, but it's not like they're 1-9. They haven't played many road playoff games, but they do not have a history of having to go on the road in the postseason. They have almost no history of having to play in the wild card round. That's only happened 3 times. Tom Brady's only played in 3 wild card playoff games in his entire career. That's why that game at Pittsburgh is critical and the home game against the Vikings is critical, because the winner of the AFC West is getting a bye.
You're supposed to ask me how many wild card games they played.
How many wild card games they played in?
1.
3.
Oh.
We'll try it later in the
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.